Hello and welcome to Real Talkin' Fiction, the podcast where storytelling meets raw, unfiltered conversations. I'm Eddie Bowers, or Edward Bowers, as some of you guys might know me from my books. I'm here to explore the stories we tell, both real and imagined. From deep dives into some of life's tougher questions to thrilling fiction that I write. So hopefully that's going to keep you guys on edge. We're going to try and cover it all here. So sit back, hit that follow button, and let's dive in.
Well, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Real Talk and Fiction. This is your host, Eddie Bowers, and today I just feel like kind of apologizing to you guys. This episode's called When Creativity Feels Like a Curse, because that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. But I've been gone for about 2 weeks, and if I'm being completely honest, I almost didn't record this episode either. It's just been a lot. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not because I don't feel like recording an episode. It's not because I don't love doing this podcast, not because I don't have things to say, but honestly, because my brain and my body feel like they've been pushed past their own limits. See, I talk a lot about creativity, writing, storytelling, mental health, but what happens when all of these things collide? When your own mind becomes like a battleground between passion, pressure, and just trying to survive the day. I'm in the middle right now of writing 3 books at one time, full-on novels. One is titled Nafal. So it's a book, kind of a fictional novel. My idea of, the fall of Lucifer and the fall of mankind, the Bible doesn't really explain his fall per se. So, that right there is pretty heavy. A lot of research, a lot of reading, just to get the ideas and the concepts to make it mesh and flow and work. I'm also in the middle of helping one of my really good friends. I'm hoping to get her on this podcast as well, but she's writing a self-help / memoir book. So that's been, causing my brain to look at myself and see areas that I feel I need improvement on. Kind of getting over a cold too, which is always fun, right? And then there is my other book. It's titled The Battle of 3030. This one, I'm trying to make this one more of like a slapstick comedy. I was on a TikTok live about a week ago, and my TikTok followers, they started giving a lot of input, on this idea. It's way out of my comfort zone, because normally I do write psychological thrillers, dark poetry, fantasy. So this one, those are all more serious books, if you will. And so this one, The Battle of 3030, I'm trying to make it a slapstick comedy. Oh, and did I mention I'm also dealing with a pretty serious custody issue, and on top of all of that, day to day, hour by hour, minute by minute, I'm dealing with multiple sclerosis, which loves to mess with you. So, I don't say all of this for sympathy or attention. I'm saying it because this is like real. Because we live in a world that glorifies this hustle culture, if you will, and pushing through the pain. But at what cost? So today, I kind of want to just talk about burnout. Not just creative burnout, but like mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion. the weight of trying to do everything, do it all when life keeps throwing punches after punches. Before we dive in, if you like what you do here so far, make sure you subscribe or follow, wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you want to support my work directly, including the books, I'm releasing this year, you can check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Bowers Inc. INK. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. So kind of, more personal, like storytelling and whatnot, creativity under pressure, if you will. Here's the thing about creativity. It doesn't just stop because you're dealing with real life stress. When I'm writing Nafal, I'm diving deep into themes of like rebellion, loss, and consequences. In a way, it kind of mirrors real life. Sometimes you feel like you're fighting a system that's stacked against you. Sometimes you feel like no matter how hard you try to do what's right, someone is twisting the narrative. Sometimes you have fans, keyboard warriors just blasting you. So are they really fans? Not really, but I think you guys get the picture. And when I'm writing, when writing should be my escape, right? That's what people say all the time, use your creativity as an outlet, Eddie. But when you're already mentally and physically drained, sometimes even the things you love start to feel like, more pressure, another weight to carry. This past month, my brain has been split in like a million directions. On one hand, I'm trying to be creative. I'm trying to give you guys some entertainment. Whether it's this podcast, the YouTube channel, my books, my TikTok, whatever. Whatever. Some entertainment. Maybe a couple of insights, quote unquote, life lessons. On the other hand, I'm trying to just function as a normal human being. Just the day-to-day stuff. And underneath all of that, I have this stupid chronic illness that doesn't care about my deadlines, my creativity, y'all, entertaining you guys, or educating, if you will. I'm not trying to sound pompous there. It doesn't care about anything else. Again, I'm not saying any of this to complain. It may sound like it, and I do apologize if I'm coming across as complaining or whining. But I say it because I know I'm not the only one feeling this. I know there's others out there. So like the myth of quote unquote pushing through. Again, we live in this world and we constantly see it, nose to the grindstone, and whatnot. We're always being told, push through it. You're tired? Push through. You're overwhelmed. Push through. You're emotionally drained? Toughen up. Push through it. But at what point does, quote unquote, pushing through start becoming self-destruction? At what point do we stop glorifying burnout and start acknowledging the rest is just as important as work? Honestly, I'm still, at 46 years old, I'm still realizing this for myself. Because honestly, if I don't, I will hit a wall so hard, I may never get back up. And I don't want that for any of you, anybody who's listening to this. So, not as a writer, I can't afford to crash and burn like that. Not as a podcaster, not as a person dealing with just real life battles that don't care about my deadlines. So honestly, what comes next? where do we go from here? So, what does this all mean for me or you? But for me, it does mean I'm going to keep writing. But I'm also going to be realistic about my limits. So on New Year's Eve, I set myself a goal. Write one book at least. One book. Release it, every single month in 2025. And so far, January, February, March, well, technically April, I've got 2 coming out in April. I've been hitting that goal. So, but I'm going to keep going. I am going to push through it, so to speak. I've gone back to old books. I've been writing for like 15, 16 years. So I've got a lot of unfinished products or projects. And so I'm completing them in order to reach or obtain this book a month release goal of mine. So that's still happening. I'm still going to hit that goal. Just pacing myself a little bit better. With the other books I'm writing, I might slow down on them. And kind of catalog any new ideas. There's always next year. So, honestly, the time keeps going. It doesn't wait for us. So, but really, that's that. My book a month challenge, again, that's still happening. But I also have to, through all of this, acknowledge that some months, they're going to be harder than others, right? And that's completely okay. This podcast, it's still happening. I might not always, proof's in the pudding. I didn't for the past 2 weeks, but I'm not always going to be able to release an episode once or twice a week. I kind of need to reschedule, reevaluate my time, and maybe instead of sitting on the couch watching TV or laying in bed a little extra longer in the mornings, record some things and stockpile it, so to speak. I've got to be more strategic. But I want to make sure I'm showing up authentically, not just forcing out like an episode or anything like that, or forcing out a book just for the sake of, consistency, which is important. I'm not just going to produce something for the sake of content. That's not what this is about. Now, honestly, if you made it this far, thank you guys so much for listening. But if this resonates with you, if you've ever felt like your own creativity was turning against you, like, I don't know, your passion was becoming a more of a pressure than a release, then I hope this episode kind of made you feel a little less alone. If you're still here, still listening, again, thank you so much. Seriously, y'all have no clue. It means the world to me. And if you want to support my work, my books and everything, whether it's past books or new books that I'm creating this year, again, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Bowers Inc. INK. You can also find me on Amazon. Search my name, Edward Bowers. You should be able to find my author page in all of my books. They're out there. I've got most of them are ebook, paperback, and hardcover. So whichever style you like, I do my best to keep my pricing affordable and, profit margin very, very low for me. So please, I'm not trying to rip you guys off with anything I do. But seriously, my Patreon, that little bit, I think there's a free version at $1 a month. $5 a month and like $15 a month. You know, again, I'm not trying to become a millionaire off of this or anything like that. So, but check it out. Check it out, please. You know, but I want you guys, every bit of support helps me keep going. I want you guys to understand that. It helps keep me going mentally, creatively, and just kind of in life, really. So make sure, though, that you subscribe or follow the podcast so you don't miss another episode. And also, before I sign off, I want to also let you guys know that I say also a lot. No, I want to let you know that I, on top of all of that stuff, have been working on setting up some interviews. I'm working with a really great guy that does a lot of motivational stuff on TikTok and YouTube. We're going to hopefully get him in for an interview, whether it's in or, remotely. I want to get him in for an interview. He's a fitness instructor, very positive, motivational type of guy. We're going to talk about like how physical health can tie into mental health a little bit, and just hopefully help get the word out about him. This is important because especially when we're juggling all of life's normal demands, he seems to have a pretty good grasp on this. So I'm really excited to get him in for an interview. Also, I'm scheduling some more authors. I've met a bunch recently, like online. So, they're going to share like their writing journey. A lot of them are very connected into mental health support and awareness. So we're going to talk about those types of things too. These interviews hopefully will be dropping soon, both here on the podcast and on my YouTube channel. You're not going to want to miss those. So definitely stay tuned. Now, I'm not going to promise that they're coming out soon, like tomorrow or the day after. But, with everything I have going on, definitely this year, here in the next month or two, they're going to start dropping. So, like I said, guys, I'm excited about it. I hope you are too, and you're not going to want to miss those. So, again, stay tuned, please, and thank you. Y'all have a great one.
That kind of wraps up this episode of Real Talkin' Fiction. If you enjoyed today's discussion, make sure to follow the podcast, please, so you never miss an episode. And if something resonated with you, share it. Share it with a friend. It helps me more than you guys know. If you'd like to support the show and my writing, you can always join me on Patreon. For honest, I'm thinking I believe as little as $1 a month. Your support's going to help me keep creating, and in return, you guys are going to receive exclusive updates, behind the scenes content, as well as early access to some new projects. So, check it out. Just head on over to Patreon, search Edward. Search Bowers Inc. B as in boy, OWERS INK. And you should be able to find me there. Also, I think somewhere on this podcast, possibly on the YouTube channel, I've got the links shared there. And if you love a good thriller, don't forget to check out my books. They're available on Amazon. All right, just search Edward Bowers in the search bar, and it should pull up everything I've written and published. You can also find all the details at my website, which is edwardbowersofficial.com. It's kind of a basic website, but I'm working on it. Okay, bear with me. But thanks for tuning in, y'all. Just stay real. Keep turning the pages of your own story. And I'll see you guys next time, all right?